Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Thursday. It's Daryl here. It is 4 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, I want to talk about something serious today. I've been in a somber mood since yesterday afternoon. I got out yesterday and I visited some neighbors around next door to me, a couple houses down, and I visited my family. Now, let me just give you some idea. I have a very small family, very close, small knit family. Like I've told you guys in other videos, I lost a lot of my family when I was young, like from about 7 or 8 years old on. My father, both grandparents, both grandfathers, both grandmothers, all to cancer, and my friends right out of high school. I lost a lot of people. So I've got a very small, close-knit family. All right. So yesterday, or the day before yesterday, we see this story, about 545 children. 545 children can't be reunited with their parents. And 3 years have gone by. And you know how fast kids grow. A 5-year-old turns into an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old turns into a 13-year-old. They become different people. I can't imagine 545 families torn apart. And then too, I've done other videos before this, and I'm surprised that this story didn't get more traction. It's a story I found, and I talked about it, and it started to get some play in the news, but I'm surprised it didn't get more attention. That the Trump administration is using private contractors to house these children. Hotels, motels, motel owners with no vetting, no credentials. And they're housing some of these 545 children in motels on the border, around the border, alone in the hotel room or with people that check in on them. It's like something out of a horror story. And this is I have to laugh when I see the Christians and evangelical and all these people saying that Trump is a man of God, delivered here by God. And I can't imagine any God approving of tearing apart 545 families, 545 children away from their families. That's not just what I want to talk about, though. It's not just those families that have been torn apart by Donald Trump. All right, 4 years ago, pretty much my entire family are Trump supporters. My elementary school sweetheart, first girlfriend I ever had, we found each other in recovery about 5 years ago, and we started dating. We moved in together. One problem, though, for me was that she's a adamant Trump supporter. Her entire family, very hardcore Trump supporters. Upper white middle class, very adamant, hardcore Trump supporters. All right. So 4 years ago, I still remember in 2016, you know, I felt the way I do now, that I was scared of Donald Trump becoming president. I still remember that election day. I was crushed, man. When I woke up and I saw that Donald Trump was going to be the president of this country, I was scared. I think being an artist and my occupation, my job and everything, I feel threatened by Donald Trump and his administration. As a lot of the people that I deal with in the art community feel very threatened by him. A lot of communities feel very threatened by him. Anyway, back to 4 years ago. I was crushed. I was frightened. It's not about hate, really, or anything like that. It's fear. Okay, 4 years later, now, this situation has gone beyond my worst case scenario. Look right now. Today's story I believe it's the FBI director's name is Ray, Agent Ray, W-R-A-Y, I believe. Forgive me if I'm wrong. All right, so today's story, this is just how far, how bad things have gotten. Just bad. Bad isn't even the right word. Donald Trump is threatening to fire the FBI director, head of the FBI, and he's threatening, insulting his attorney general again, Barr, because they're not acting fast enough. With 2 weeks, 12 days now, 12 days, I believe, until the election. And he's insisting that the Justice Department, the FBI, the country's top law enforcement, and his attorney general, who is part of the justice, the justice, the three branches of government, president being in the executive. Now, this is made for checks and balances. I'm sure everybody watching this, I don't have to tell you guys about that. These are made to act independently. And Trump is threatening to fire Agent Ray. And I don't know if he's threatened to fire his attorney general yet, but it's very clear. Trump every day talks about how Barr's future is dismal if he doesn't do what Trump wants. This is not the way this is supposed to work. The Justice Department is supposed to operate completely independently of the president. They're not there to take orders from the president by any way, shape, or form. This is not how the United States was designed to work. This is corruption and I don't even know what to call it. It's as if, I don't know what kind of analogy to use. If the head of a bank, if the president of my local bank here in town threatened to fire the loan officer because she wouldn't loan to his family. And that's even a terrible analogy. I couldn't believe it could get this bad. Like I said yesterday, this is something out of a third world country where he's using the Justice Department, the head of the nation's highest police force, to arrest his opponent who's beating him. It's insane that what's going on here. Like I said, this is going to, for as long as the United States exists, these last 4 years are going to be a study. It's going to be the subject of studies and books and movies for years and decades to come. This is stuff that didn't even go on in the Nixon administration. This is just, it's corruption like you wouldn't believe. Like I said, they're supposed to operate, it's a system of checks and balances. They're supposed to operate completely independently for Trump. And there's no founded accusations. He just wants Biden arrested. And he doesn't even specify why. It's just, Trump says it's corrupt, that Biden's corrupt. And it's the worst treasonous stuff in history, but he doesn't even specify what. Or there's no specific allegations. He just wants him arrested. I never could believe it could get this bad. All right. So now going back to what I was talking about. Now with Thanksgiving coming up, I went to talk to my neighbor yesterday and my family, and it was the exact same feeling I got from both of them. They're both older, in their 70s, and they're not on the internet. So I can't blame this on the internet at all. But they are adamant, hardcore watchers of Fox News. And with both my neighbor and my family, I brought up, it was my fault, I brought up what they thought of Hunter Biden, because I feel a kind of a personal connection to Hunter Biden with his in being in recovery. And I was curious to see if they were going to attack him, because I almost feel that's like a personal attack on me. I feel like I'm more or less in the same position as Hunter in a lot of ways. Being in recovery, I made some mistakes in the past, but I'm not that person right now. I've come a long way, and from what I see with Hunter, it's the same thing. And I truly admire the way Joe Biden protects his son, believes in his son. All right. So when I talk to my neighbor and my family, I start to feel this. So I asked this question about Hunter Biden, and with both my neighbor and my family, I just got a nonstop stream. I sat back. I didn't argue with either one. I wanted to hear what they were saying. I was curious. And with all 3 or 4 people I talked to, Trump supporters yesterday, it was just one thing after another. They both said that Joe Biden is hiding in his basement, and they laughed about this. And I just, and the way that they repeated these talking points word for word, that he's hiding in his basement, that he's corrupt, that Joe Biden is dealing with China. And so I brought up the fact about, well, geez, just today, there's points that Donald Trump has been paying taxes to China, almost $200,000. And both my family and my neighbors just shrugged this off. Whenever I would occasionally produce counterpoints, and they just, fake news. I walked away feeling disheartened. The thing that bothers me is, even if Trump is defeated, the division that's been created between me and my neighbors and me and my family, I could feel it starting again. That was the point of this video. Like when I started talking about the 545 children that have been separated and their families torn apart, the number's a lot higher than that. Because I'm sure I'm probably... my situation is probably very similar to all the people watching this and thousands of other families across the country that have been torn apart by Donald Trump. This is no longer politics. The anger that when I see these Trump supporters and just the sheer denial. And I always want to make sure too, when I see them, what I feel is brainwashing from Fox News. When I come home, I check the points that they made to make sure that, I want to make sure that I'm not just on the other side of the coin. That I'm not just being brainwashed by CNN and Joe Biden. So I looked up the stuff about the corruption and the claims that they made. And I couldn't find any basis on any of them, so I can't say that made me feel better. It's still, I look, after I walked away from my neighbors and my family yesterday, I look at them differently, and I feel separated from my community and from my family. I really do. I love my family more than anything in the world, and I always will, but I feel this isn't something that I feel is going to go away. I see their trust, their misaligned trust in this man believing all these lies, and this anger and the hate that I see come out in their faces when I talk to them. And I can't imagine that any of this is going to go away after Election Day. On the contrary, I'm already getting concerned about Thanksgiving. As when I met with my family yesterday, they started talking about Thanksgiving, plans of what we're going to do for Thanksgiving, how we're going to work that out. And we've all agreed to take tests for COVID-19 before Thanksgiving, just to make sure that my parents are safe. I thought it was a good idea. I'm still not sure. Well, I'll get into that some other time. And I think even if Biden wins, I saw the anger that came out in their faces yesterday. And I'm seriously concerned what Thanksgiving is going to be like if Joe Biden wins. I can imagine them to feel very uncomfortable. I almost feel like an enemy at the table. I've gotten used to keeping my mouth shut over the last 4 years when I'm around my family, just for the sake of the family. And the relationship that I had, I didn't keep my mouth shut with that for too long. But I'm already fearing or worrying about what's going to happen this holiday. So my point here is that it's not just those 545 families that this this whole nightmare of Donald Trump, it has torn apart. There's got to be thousands of families across the United States that have been torn apart by this president. Like I said, and this has nothing to do with politics. I see the anger in their faces, and we're not talking about lower taxes or smaller government. We're talking about their prejudice against people. They're Trump supporters, and they're not caring about like these kids. No consideration for them all, and the people that consider themselves Christians. And it goes so far beyond politics at this point. It goes beyond morals. It's just people's character. And the thing that bothers me the most is that they believe these lies. And I don't see that going away after Election Day. Right? I see I've run out a lot of time. I hope I made some sense. All right, I'll be back later with another video. You guys have a good Thursday.